Welcome to Celebration's Magical Moments. I'm Tim Foster, and I'll be taking you on a tour of some of your favorite Walt Disney World attractions and resorts. Before we get started, if you have a favorite secret or little-known fact, be sure to share it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for even more Disney magic. In this episode, we're going to take a journey through time aboard that classic Epcot attraction, Spaceship Earth. Now, before we get started, let's start out with a quick trivia question. Can you name the tallest attraction that has ever existed at Walt Disney World? Did you say Cinderella Castle? Nope, not even close. Well, how about the Tower of Terror? Surely you jest. Well, what about Expedition Everest? Now we're getting somewhere. Expedition Everest does indeed hold the title of tallest attraction today. But the all-time leader is, wait for it, Spaceship Earth. Okay, I guess you saw that coming. But hold on, I can hear you say. I know they've refurbished the inside several times, but they've never changed the actual sphere, much less made it smaller. And yeah, that's true, but let me take you back to the year 1999. As part of the upcoming Millennium Celebration, Spaceship Earth was, shall we say, redecorated a little bit. And when I say a little bit, I mean a lot of it, for that's when the infamous Mickey Sorcerer Hand was added to the structure. The massive wand featured a giant 2,000 to commemorate the Millennium, and it brought the height of Spaceship Earth up to a staggering 257 feet, making it more than 20% taller than Expedition Everest. We'll save discussion of the merits of the wand for another show, but love it or hate it, the wand was removed in 2007. Restoring Spaceship Earth to its former height of 183 feet, which currently makes it 6th on the list of tallest attractions at Walt Disney World. But for a few short years, Spaceship Earth did indeed hold the lofty title of tallest attraction at Walt Disney World. And one final note here before we move on. As iconic as the Mickey wand was, he actually never held one in the Sorcerer's Apprentice scene at Fantasia, but he did wear the gloves. So as we discovered, Spaceship Earth is big. So big that it took 26 months to build, requiring nearly 41,000 hours of man labor, which works out to more than 4.5 years. Spaceship Earth is 183 feet high and weighs nearly 16 million pounds. The foundations for the 6 massive support legs are buried anywhere from 120 to 185 feet into the ground. That's quite a lot to support, but even with that, it wasn't anywhere near enough to hold up the entire sphere. Not to fear, the creative Disney team came up with the perfect solution. What was it? Split it apart. The sphere you see is actually comprised of 2 parts. The upper part sits on top of a table supported by the 6 legs, while the bottom half is suspended underneath. And you may not know it by looking at it, but Spaceship Earth is actually composed of 2 spheres, nested inside each other. The outer sphere is what we see from the outside, while the inner sphere contains the tracks and maintenance rooms for the attraction itself. The sphere itself is an astounding 165 feet in diameter, and that's pretty big. But let's put that into perspective. You may have heard the oft-repeated bit of trivia that says if you shrunk Spaceship Earth down to the size of a golf ball, the average-sized person hitting it would be 1.3 miles tall. Pretty cool. But how far could you hit that ball? Well, if you're an average golfer and you aim toward the Atlantic Ocean, you hit it a good 60 miles out to sea. Talk about a water hazard. But let's look at this another way. If the Earth were shrunk down to the size of, Spaceship Earth, well, how big would that make the Moon? For comparison, let's take a quick trip over to Mission Space, where you'll find a model of the Moon right in the entry courtyard. Now, how cool would it be if the Moon were in perfect scale to Spaceship Earth? Very cool, right? Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. If you were to scale the Moon to its proper size relative to Spaceship Earth, it would actually be about 4 times as large as the Moon at Mission Space. Well, it was a good try. But to put this in perspective, the Spaceship Earth-sized Moon would be about as wide as the Inventor's Courtyard behind the Land Pavilion, or about as wide as the long-standing facade of Mouse Gear. But how far away would it be if we were to keep everything in scale? Now, this would be a great time to tell you it would be in the same place that the Moon is at Mission Space, but alas, that's not the case either. If you were to position the Moon in its proper scale and location, You'd have to put it in the pool at the Swan and Dolphin, or the bridge over the waterway that goes to Disney's Hollywood Studios. So, yeah, the moon would be pretty far away. And I know this question is burning in your brain. If we scaled the sun in a similar fashion relative to Spaceship Earth, it would be all the way up near Myrtle Beach. Now, seeing the Earth, moon, and sun like this really does give us a sense of the vastness of space, and certainly makes that scene of the Earth sitting in a sea of stars at the top of our journey even more compelling. We truly are sitting here together on this little blue marble we call Spaceship Earth. As long as we're talking about geometry, let's take this opportunity to really get into the math. But don't worry, it'll be fun. This is Epcot after all. Now I'll confess I fibbed a little bit when I called it a sphere. Spaceship Earth is actually, hold on, let me be sure I pronounce this right, a pentagonal dodecahedron. Now, some of you may already know this since it's a common point of trivia, right along with how many triangles are there on Spaceship Earth, which we're going to get back to shortly. But what exactly is a pentagonal dodecahedron? And no smart aleck answers here like it's the shape of Spaceship Earth. For the answer, we're going to dive deep into some geometry, but don't worry, it's not that scary. Our geometric journey begins with the dodecahedron, which is just a fancy name for a 12-sided solid. Think of the 12-sided die in your Dungeons & Dragons dice set. Now, each face on a regular dodecahedron is a 5-sided pentagon. With me so far? Great. Now, pentagonal just means that we're going to put a 5-sided pyramid on each face, like so. And that's basically it. That doesn't look like Spaceship Earth, does it? No worries. What happens now is that you subdivide each face into 16 triangles, then divide each of those faces into 4 triangles, and finally divide those into 3 triangles. So technically speaking, it's more proper to say that Spaceship Earth is derived from a pentagonal dodecahedron. And hey, I'm getting a little tired of saying pentagonal dodecahedron. So what does this all mean? Well, it means that the surface of Spaceship Earth should be made up of 11,520 triangles. However, if you were to count them, you'd only find 11,324. So, what happened to the missing 196? Well, it turns out they were removed to make room for the support pylons and other structural elements like this. Easy, right? No? Well, we won't blame you if you want to keep calling it the giant golf ball. Okay, enough about the outside. Let's head on in for the true attraction. Spaceship Earth takes you on a journey through time where we can learn about the history of communication. And along the way, we get to see everything from cave drawings and the invention of paper to the advent of television and the computer. And, like every great Disney attraction, Spaceship Earth is filled with fun little details. For example, look for the letters WDI on the microphone in the radio scene. That's a reference to Walt Disney Imagineering. In the moon landing scene room, look behind the sofa and see if you can spot the classic mousetrap game. And speaking of mice, there are plenty of hidden Mickeys to be found here. Look on the table on the left of the Renaissance scene and see if you can spot 3 rings of paint forming a hidden Mickey. Now, one of my favorite hidden Mickeys in all of Walt Disney World can be found in the Islamic scholar scene, and it was added during the attraction's 2008 update. If you look carefully at the scrolls on the shelves off to the left, you'll spot 3 that form a perfect hidden Mickey, seen best as you pass by. The attraction is also filled with authentic touches too. For example, the hieroglyphics you see in the Egypt scene are authentic recreations of actual hieroglyphics. Not impressive enough? Well, how about this? The speech you hear being recited by the pharaoh is actually a letter recovered from that time period. What exactly is he saying? Well, the speech roughly translates to, "You are my representative and people look to you, and I expect of you the highest performance." Or, if we're to believe Dame Judi Dench, "Your taxes are way past due." There are plenty of great scenes in Spaceship Earth, and I'm sure everyone has a favorite. For me, I'd have to say the Greek classroom scene under the serene evening sky. No, wait, the Phoenician merchant scene. No, wait, the computer room scene. No, wait, I have it. The burning of Rome scene. Now, not for the visuals, but for that aroma of burning embers. It sort of reminds me of this place. But my favorite scene of all time is one that's sadly no longer a part of the attraction, and that would be the City of the Future that was in the prior incarnation. For me, the beauty of that scene was not just in the visual of the city, but also in the stirring music, which always brought a tear to my eye and made my heart skip a beat. Let's have a listen. And finally, here's a fun tip. As your time vehicle turns around for its descent to Earth, close your eyes. Slowly count to 30 or so and open your eyes. Whoa. Now, that's Disney magic. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Celebration's Magical Moments. Be sure to visit us at celebrationspress.com, where you can discover even more Disney magic with Celebrations magazine, as well as our series of collector's books. Join me next time as we take another journey through one of your favorite attractions, and in the meantime, keep on enjoying the magic.